Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Fix-It-All Paul, and today we are going to be looking at this. This is a ceramic light fixture that for many years hung on the inside of a wall in a closet. Standard pull chain style. The chief complaint about this was that when it came on, it was not always a steady light, and you could sort of hear a little arcing. This came out of a place that I lived for 37 years. My solution to this was just I got it to come on and be steady, and then I would screw and unscrew the bulb. Not a big deal. Somebody new moved in there that I happen to know, and they complained about it. So I got another fixture and I replaced it. Thought occurred to me, a lot of people have no idea what goes on inside one of these. This being a very old one, I believe this one's probably in the order of 70, 80, 90 years old. This one actually comes apart. Start by unscrewing the top. What you find inside looks like a fairly standard light socket. But unlike most modern pieces of crap that you find now, this one actually has screws in it that you can take it apart. It does have one rivet right here that holds this tab that contacts the center of the light bulb. You can see that that contact is pretty filthy. So we could certainly clean that off, whatever crud is there. It actually says Paulding on it, which is kind of funny since I'm Fix-It-All Paul. And the back of this also says Paulding on it. I thought originally it was probably Spalding, but apparently not. I don't know when they started doing UL listings. Maybe that would tell me something about how old this is. 250 watts, 250 volts. Part number 1619. In any case, it's old. And I don't know if you can really move the light here, see if we can get a good view inside of this thing. Maybe I'll put something white down on the table behind it so you can kind of get a better view through the side here. You can see it climbs that incline and snaps down to turn it on. And then it would climb that incline and snap down to turn off. It's got sort of 4 inclines. 2 that are off and 2 that are on. You can probably see that in there. And I think just the contacts in there are dirty. Now if I was just going to fix this for quick use and not make a video, I'd probably just take some brake parts cleaner, spray it out. But given that this does have some screws in here, which allow this to at least partly come apart, I thought we would do that. See what we find. You can see it has this little teeny tiny nut that's on the back of the screw. Just a piece of stamped sheet metal with a thread in it. And take the other one off. The other one, this one on this side, just comes down into the ceramic, and that's where that nut was. On the other side, it comes down into the contact, which is our connection for the outer shell, which would be our return. You can see the return shell, which is just a light bulb thread, comes out. And then you can see the inside of this thing. It's where the center of the bulb screws down. It is riveted to the switch. Now I could take, maybe we can pull this all the way apart. There's two screws under here, but this has some sort of ceramic glue of some sort sealing them off. Otherwise you could take that whole thing off. However, I think that what's going to happen is if I take this screw out, we can fold this thing open and get at the innards well enough. There we go. And you can see it's got a center post. I'm going to point for the center post to see if you can really see that. Come on. It is hard to see. The lighting in here isn't that great. Normally I do these videos in the window, sun shining. We don't have any sun today. Anyways, there's a little bit of grease in there. You can see this area here. That is for the tip of that spring right there. And that is fairly well anchored down in there. And of course the center of the post sits up on top there. And this spring, boy, that grease that's in there is very thick. Is this piece here, when you pull on the chain, which sits in here, I don't know if you can see that or not, that's what pulls it. Zoom in here a little bit if I can. First of all, let's give this a little bit more light and zoom it in a little bit. You can see that this turns, it climbs up. It's in the off position right now, and this piece here, see that? This bridges the contact between the juice coming in and the center of the bulb, and then it drops off that edge, snap, and makes contact. But you open this up, I mean, I dare say those contacts are pretty filthy. Seems to have a greasy feel overall. I think we can just kind of clean that up. To be honest with you, know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw it in the sink and scrub it. And then you can see the contacts on here have a little bit of wear, but there's still plenty of meat left on there. So we'll clean this all up and I'll be back. Alright, we're back. And we've got some cleaned parts off here. Still a little damp. It's an old toothbrush and some bar soap, actually. I started with dish soap, but that didn't work out so well. And you notice that these are two different colors, and that's because line goes to the dark and the white wire, the return, goes to the light color. But that's neither here nor there. Now this is the contact that goes in here, and this is the piece that bridges across that you saw before, that was spinning around and snapping down onto the ceramic for off and onto these brass pads for on. Now what you probably can't see, I'm going to see if I can do this with a magnifier. This might be a little tricky to be able to see. Let's get this whole thing out of here. Hold just this in my hand. Got a magnifier here. You might be able to see. Let's see here. Where's the lens? The lens is right up here. This is a little tricky to do, huh? Can you see all the pitting that has taken place on that surface? it's because of the electrical arcing that was going on. Every time you make and break a contact, it arcs a little bit. And it's pitted that surface up pretty good. We've got similar effect. Zoom you in here on this one. But this one's not as bad. And that's because as this rides around on the ceramic, when it rises up, you can see it scrapes across the ceramic, which kind of cleans it, and then it lands down and turns the light on. You hear it snap. Then you turn it, and it snaps off. Of course, that all spins around the central post here. So when you pull the string, it snaps on, snaps off rather, snaps on, snaps off. And it's sort of self-cleaning along that edge. But the piece where it contacts is not really quite so self-cleaning, and there is some pitting that's going on there. Like I said, you could see it a lot on this one. But I think that overall, even if we put it together just the way it is, it would probably function okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take out ye trusty knife. I'm just going to scratch that surface up a little bit, just to sort of shine that up and smooth that off a little bit. Kind of deal with a little bit of that pitting. We can do the same thing down on this one. We'll just get in there and just use the nose end of the knife just to clean that up a little bit. This I don't feel the need to really, well, maybe a little bit. We'll clean this up just a little bit. I could use sandpaper. I'd probably use a 600 grit just to make it nice and smooth. Like I said, this isn't all that dirty. See, that's pretty clean. Now, this guy goes, whoop, we're out of view here. Let's zoom you back out. So as you can see, this one goes on there. And then this piece held the spring. And one end of that spring, I don't know if you can see that little groove down in there. One end of that spring went in there. Come on. And this, think about this for a second, how this went. Oh yeah, this would have to go on top of there. A little trickier to get it back together than it is to take it apart, obviously. I think if I'm not mistaken, this went down and hooked on there like that. Just blowing some dust off. And then all of this went on here. Maybe I got this in the wrong position, huh? Maybe this went over here. I think so. Like I said, a little tricky to get back together, but overall, not terrible. Let me think about this. I think these go here and here, which would put this out. All right, we're back. This took a little figuring out because normally you've got brass and silver screw colors on a normal outlet, and the brass are line and the silver are neutral. Silver being the lighter color is neutral. Where I've got a black screw here and a brass screw, and this is a very old outlet, socket, I kind of thought that maybe black was line and silver was neutral. Brass was neutral, but that is not the case. It took me a little finagling to get this in place. One of the things you have to balance is this piece here that holds the chain. But in any case, we got it back together. You can see this is significantly cleaner inside now than it was when we started. And I have every reason to believe that this will work perfectly fine if put back to service. I'm not sure I'm going to put it back to service or not. I don't really have a use for it anywhere right at the moment. I live in a building with reasonably modern wiring. Nothing that needs to be replaced at the moment. But there it is. What goes on inside of a pull cord light socket. I'm sure we've all seen one of these. All right, I did a little quick checking. What I found was that these types of lights with a UL listing go back to at least 1916. I think it was around 1906 to 1916 they started using the UL logo on things. The Paulding Company, I was not able to find out much information about them at all, except that this was sort of what they made. They made porcelain light fixtures of one variety or another, and this being one of them, obviously. I'm guessing, based on what I read, this sort of thing became really popular in around the 1930s, 20s and 30s, maybe even up to the 1940s. But there you have it, a vintage light socket, cleaned up, put back for use. By the way, there's a lot of paint. Somebody wasn't very careful with the paintbrush, but then again, it was inside of a closet. But I could clean all of this off and give us a nice clean surface if I wanted to do that. I don't want to do that. But in any case, there it is. Thanks for watching. Sorry it's a little long and a little boring. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.